Thank you everyone for joining us today. Today's training is getting started with Microsoft Excel. Now, before we jump into today's training, I do want to go over the options that you have during today's live event. So since this is a live event, you actually have the option to pause or even rewind the live stream if you would like. So if you need to step out of the room for a moment, you don't have to worry about missing any information. If you need, you can turn on or off live captions for yourself. And if you have any questions, please post them into the Q&A. Please keep in mind throughout today's training that there is going to be anywhere from a 15 to 20-second delay between when I am showing you something and when you see it on your screen. So please be specific with any of your questions because that'll help us out on our end with that time gap. Today's training is being recorded. Your organization will communicate out where to go to be able to watch this recording. My name is Kim. I will be your trainer for today. I also have with me my coworker Sway, who will be moderating the Q&A and answering all of your questions. So here's today's agenda. Microsoft Excel is a spreadsheet application. Using Excel, you can perform a multitude of functions such as run calculations, make lists and charts. It also helps analyze and sort information, track financial data, and much more. Our goal for today's presentation of Getting Started with Microsoft Excel is to help new and novice users become comfortable with Excel and basic functionality. We will spend the first part of our session discussing what Excel offers and how to navigate the application. Then we will open the workbook that I will share with you all, and we will go through how to use common formulas, functions, data validation, and how to work with content. We should have time at the end for Q&A as well. Today, we will explore how to create Excel spreadsheets on your own and from templates, and how to use formulas to perform calculations. We will create charts and graphs from tables, add formatting, tables, and more to help you better understand your data and how to compellingly present it. Let's go ahead and jump into the live demonstration. There we go. So I will put in the Q&A, the link to the workbook. When you open up the workbook, you have to make sure you go to File, Save As, and download a copy, just like it says here. All right. You should be able to click on the link in the Q&A and open it. If it's not working for you from just clicking on it, you might have to copy and paste it into a web browser. Now, while everybody's trying to open that up, I want to go over what Excel looks like when you first open it up. So when you first open Excel, there we go, this is what it is going to look like. You'll see it'll say good afternoon or good morning. And right below that, we have the option we can start a blank workbook, or we can start from one of the many templates available. Now, the templates that you're offered may differ from what I'm being offered right now. But if you ever want to see the entire catalog of templates, simply go to the right-hand side and you'll see more templates. Now you can scroll through the templates or search for a particular one. So if I'm looking for something for, I'm just going to type in the word school, see if we can bring up anything. And there we go. We have some. We have like an academic calendar, college budget, anything that we would need. Templates can really save you time because it's basically just boxes that you have to fill in. So if I come up here, I'm just going to choose this one. It does give you a little blurb about it, so you can see if this would be the best template for you. But you can see it's just fill in the blank. And you can add or remove anything that you want to the template. So you can really customize it. If we look on the left-hand side in our rail, you'll see we have home. That's where we are currently. This is where we start off in. We can also come here to start a new blank workbook. So we have two ways to start a blank workbook. We can open. So this is opening up a previously created and saved workbook. You can also come here to find info or information about Excel. This is where you could see like the size of it when it was last modified and who created it. We have save or save as, print. We have the share option, export, publish, and close. Today we won't be going through all of these options, but I will show you how to save and print at the end. Although you should be saving now. Going back to the home screen, underneath the templates, you'll see recent. So these is showing me some of Excel files that I've opened. So you can see this one I opened up 7 minutes ago, while this one I opened up on Thursday. Now, we're not going to start from a blank workbook. We're going to go to our workbook that's already created. At the very top of our Excel workbook, or at the very top of Excel in general, we have a search bar. This is so handy to use. I use it all the time. So if you're trying to do something in Excel, you can just use the search bar to look it up. It saves me so much time. I love it. Right below the search bar, we have our ribbon. Now for the ribbon, you'll notice we have different tabs. So everything's kind of categorized. We won't be going through all of the tabs today, but we're going to be going through some of the most important ones. Right underneath the ribbon, we have our formula bar. So this is where we will be writing in our formulas. And to the left, we have our name box. What the name box is going to do is it's going to tell us the location of the cells. And I'll go over that in just a moment. At the very bottom, you'll notice some different colored tabs. These are called sheets, worksheets here in our workbook. We're going to start on the left and slowly make our way to the right. So right now we're on start. We're going to go to the next tab labeled cells. Now, for those who may be new to Excel, I wanted to give a good visual of what a column, row, and a cell is. So all of the columns are going to be labeled with a letter. So you'll see we have column D, column E, F. Now, Excel is infinite. So if we go over, once we get to column Z, you'll see that the next column is now column AA, column AB, and AC, and you can see the trend of how it goes. So it does go over to the right infinitely. Now for the rows are labeled with numbers, and those are infinite as well. Knowing the cell's column location and row location is going to help us when we are typing up or putting in some of our formulas. You'll notice that the column and the row, they're slightly darker gray to kind of help us visually see, okay, this is cell F11. But remember, we also have that name box. This automatically tells us what it is, so there's no guessing. I can just randomly select, and I can just see that this is L14. This one is N5. So now that we know what a column, cell, and a row are, let's go ahead and go to the next tab that is labeled Formatting. I'm going to zoom in for us. I feel like that's a little small. All right, so one great thing with Excel is you actually can format cells. So you'll notice here with my table, they each have a different label. So we have numbers, currency, short date, long date. Each of these are a different option for how you can format your cell or cells. Now the default is over here is general. Now with general, I just want to show you, what if I want to say I'm writing up something with cooking and I want to say 2 1/3 cups. It's going to change it to February 3rd because I haven't formatted it to say, hey, this cell is going to be fractions. To format a cell or group of cells, simply click on the cell or group of cells. And then from the Home tab in our ribbon, about halfway through, you'll see a Numbers section. You'll see we have General and we have a drop-down. From the drop-down, we can choose how we want to format the cells here. So I'm going to change it to fraction. So now if I put in 2/3, it's going to keep it as 2/3. This is going to save me so much time because if I have a whole column that needs to remain as fractions, it's going to. We also have the option for percentage. Now, one thing that's actually pretty cool, let me go ahead and format these to percentage for us, is if I just put in a fraction, I'm just going to do 2/3, it's automatically going to change it to a percentage for me. We do have time available. So with time, I just want to make sure these are all formatted. You have two options on how you can put in time. You can go based off of the 24-hour clock. So I could do 1300 for 1 p.m. Or if I put 1 o'clock, just do 1 p.m. I could do that as well. Need to make sure I do the space. Now we do have long date and short date, depending on how you'd like it to look. For the dates, if you do not put in the year, it's automatically going to assume you mean the current year. So if I put in, I'm just going to do 10/31, 10/31, hit enter, and it's going to say Monday, October 31st, 2022. Now, if I do a date in the past, it's still going to choose this year. So now it's Monday, February 14th of 2022. And it will do this with the short date as well. (2/14). Now, for currency, we actually have two different options. So I'm going to put in that so I can show you the difference. So from the drop down on our ribbon, Right below currency, we have accounting. Now, accounting looks a little different, you can see, but I want to show you that with accounting, you actually have the option, you can change the currency type. So you'll see here, I can change it to euro if I'd want to. You cannot do this for currency. If I try and do this for currency for one of these, I'll just do the $10. If I try and change that to yen, it's automatically going to switch it over to accounting for me. The currency is going to be the default based off of wherever you're located at. So if you're located here in the US, it's going to be the American dollar. But if you're over in Europe, you might have like the British pound or one of the other options. From here. And then last, we have numbers. One thing that I really like about numbers is you can actually decide where you want the decimal point to be. So if I just click here on 67, if we get back up to our ribbon, right below our dropdown, you'll see we have these two options for increasing and decreasing the decimal point. So you can see I can decrease it, or I can increase it if I'd like. It also does rounding. So if I do 572, you'll see as I decrease, it didn't change to 7, but the 7 upped 0.6, and there we go. It rounded it up to 68. So that's formatting your cell or group of cells to help your work be a little bit easier. Let's jump to the next tab that is labeled Demo. All right, so here is a demo table for us to kind of play around with. From the Home tab in our ribbon, one of the things that I always do is I always change the size of the font. Because right now it's size 11, we can clearly see that, and that is a little small. So I'm just going to highlight all of the text that's going to be in my table. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to change the font size. Make it a little bigger. There we go. That's 14. That's nice. Now, if I want to, I can bold any of the text. So maybe I want to bold what's in our header row just to make it stand out a little bit more. And I also can decide how I want the text to be aligned. So maybe here for the contact, whether or not customers wanted to be contact, maybe I want to keep that center aligned. And maybe for customer surveys, I want to keep that, let's do left aligned or right aligned. There we go. Now, if we look at our emails, you'll see that since I upped the size of our text, the emails are getting cut off, and that's no good. Well, I can actually adjust the width of column B here. If I take my cursor and I put it in between column B and C, you'll see how my cursor changed to kind of this cross with two arrows. I can actually drag column B over. So that way I can give it a little bit more room. I can also do this to shrink some of the cells if I need to. And it does not affect the other cells. So if I shrink column D, it's not going to affect column C at all. Now, going back up to our ribbon, all of the text should be formatted already, but we can just double check it. So we have the customer survey, we have those as numbers. Contact info is text, or whether or not they wanted to be contacted. We have budget. We have that as accounting. Email is text. And then so is their names. All right. Now, right now, our table is looking kind of bland. So let's spice it up a little bit. We're going to need to first highlight all of the cells that are going to be within our table. And then from the Home tab in our ribbon, we're going to go down to Format as Table. From here, we get to decide how we want our table to look. So you'll see we have light, medium, and dark, and that's just based off of how much color we have in here. I'm just going to choose, I'll choose this one. Once you've chosen a format, you will get this pop-up. This pop-up is just wanting to verify that everything that's within the green dots is everything that's going to be within your table. If there was like a column or a row you missed, now would be the time where you would adjust it. And then it's asking, have I already created headers for my table? I have. My headers is the first row where it says customer name, email, budget, contact, and customer survey. So I'm going to keep that checked if it's not already and select OK. And you'll see it's going to change my table, and it's going to be a little bit easier now to read. Now, if I click anywhere within my table, you'll notice that you get a Table Design tab at the top. If you are not selected within the table, it does not appear. So you have to click anywhere in the table, it doesn't matter where, and it will pop up. This is where we can make some adjustments to the style of our table. So first, we can decide if we want to remove that header row or keep it. We could add on a total row if we were looking for totals. We can remove the banded rows and opt for banded columns instead. We could bold the last column, or maybe the first column. And then we can decide if we want to add on or remove the filter button. The filter button is based off of how we want to filter our table. And I'll show you that here in a moment or two. And then next to the table style options, you can change the table style. So if you don't like the style that you chose, you can always come through here and try a different one. So I think I'll go back to this one. There we go. So now we have our table, we have it designed, it looks a little bit better, but I still want to add a little bit more to it. So for this next part, I'm actually going to highlight or select the contact column. And from the Home tab in our ribbon, right next to the Format as Table, we have conditional formatting. When we click on the conditional formatting, this is where you'll see we have different options on how we want to adjust some of the cells. So I want to showcase highlight cell rules. So you can decide, hey, if the number is greater than this number, then it'll highlight, or less than, between, equal to, or if it contains certain text. So that's what we want to do for the contact. I want if it changes to, let's say, yes, that it highlights it. So you'll see here, it's going to ask me what the text is that I'm looking to highlight. I'm going to type in yes. You'll see it's automatically highlighting those for me. And now I can choose how it highlights. So we have some pre-made ones that I can look at, or I can choose custom formatting. This is where I get to choose the color, so I can decide, hey, maybe I just want this to be, I could do dark yellow, have the fill be light green, hit yes, and there you go. Now you see that it has changed it. Now if I change anything to yes, it's automatically going to highlight for me. Now, if I want to adjust the conditional formatting I just put on, when I go back to conditional formatting, at the bottom, I can manage rules. You'll see this is where the rule was I just made. I can delete this or edit. So maybe here from edit, I want to change how it's formatted. So maybe I want to do the bright green. Change it to that. Hit apply. And there we go. Now it's a lot easier to see who said that they are willing to be contacted and who is not. Now for this next part of conditional formatting, I want to look at budget, the budget column. Going back to conditional formatting, if we scroll down, you'll see we have data bars. Data bars are actually a great way to visually see numbers and see the highest number and lowest number. So you can see there, it's really easy to see that David has the highest budget amount and Beth has the lowest. And then we can see all the in between. So we can see, okay, this is the average, about 1,000, roughly around there, maybe a little less. You actually can change the color of it. You'll see there's blue, there's also green, there's a pink, I think that's magenta, and even a bright yellow. Now, besides data bars, we also have color scales. Color scales are great because what it will do is the first option, I'm going to clear this, is it will highlight the highest number in green and the lowest in red. And we also have that reversed. So if you're looking at debt, the lowest would be green and the highest would be red. So if we put that on, now we have a nice color visual to see the highest number and the lowest number and all those in between. Now for the last option here in conditional formatting, I want to show it off using the customer survey column. Going back to conditional formatting, we have icons. So you can actually have icons appear within the cells. So you can see we have directions, shapes, indicators, or ratings. Now, I want to go to more rules because this is how we get to set up the rules for the icons. So now I get to decide, hey, what icons do I want? Scroll down, choose the circles, and then based off of what value, which icon do I get? The default is percentage. So I'm going to change that to number because these surveys are out of 10. So I don't want to do a percentage. I want to say if a customer gives us a 10 out of 10, that we get the completely filled in circle. If it is an 8 or 9, an 8 or higher, then we will get this quarter. We'll do half at 7. I'll do 6. Actually, no, I'll keep it at 7. We'll do this if it is 6.5, and anything lower than 6.5 will be 0. We're going to hit OK. And now you'll see those icons are in, and I can easily see, okay, we have a 10 out of 10 here and here, but I can easily see I got a 4.8 and a 6 down here. Makes it a lot easier for me. Going back up to our ribbon, if we move over to the right, we have what's called cell styles. And I'm just going to select one of the emails over here in the column just to showcase it. But cell styles is a way to easily format a cell. So you can see here we have like bad and good. I can decide if I want to change it to, if I change it to neutral, you'll see how that adjusts it. I can do warning text, which makes it red. So you can come through here and kind of quickly customize your text if you would like. I need to. Yeah. Now, I have all of this filled out, but one thing that may help us with our table, if we decide that we want to share this out with others, is we also have the option, we can add or remove cells and columns. So if I decide that I want to share this out with, say, some of my coworkers, and we get a new customer, let's say, to add on to the list, I can come up to the Home tab on our ribbon, and on the right-hand side, we have Insert. So I can actually decide I can insert an additional row on here. I could also add on an additional column. And then if I'd want, I can also delete any of the columns I've created or any of the rows. I can delete whatever I need. Now we also have format, and format is handy because you can choose to have it auto adjust the height of rows, which that one, if I show you that, there shouldn't be any changes with the text. Yeah, no changes there. But if I do auto fit column width, you'll see it makes everything nice and snug. And it's going to be going based off of the longest text or numbers within each column. So that's why customer survey is a lot wider than contact. Moving over to the right on our ribbon, we have sort and filter. Now, based off of what information is in each column is going to change what it says for sort and filter. So right now I just have a random cell and budget selected, and it gives me the option to sort from smallest to largest. But if I click a customer name here, I now get the option to sort from A to Z or Z to A. Now, Excel is smart. So if I decide to sort based off of customer name, it knows that this is Mark's email address. His budget is $8.50. He does want to be contacted, and he gave us an 8 out of 10. So if we look where Mark went to, you'll see it kept his Yahoo email, kept him at $8.50. He does want to be contacted, and it gave us his 8 out of 10 survey. So you don't have to worry about if you filter it that it's going to mess up like the emails or the budgets. Excel's smart that way. It knows to adjust everything else accordingly. Now, if we go to the next tab in our ribbon, the Insert tab, this is where I want to show you how you can add in a chart to your table or next to it. So for the charts, you have the option on the information that you want to select. So maybe you just want to select one column of information. Maybe I just want to select the customer surveys, what we all got. Or I can select multiple columns. It all depends on what information you're wanting to have in the chart. I'm just going to select the customer survey. And then right here in the middle of my ribbon on the Insert tab, you'll see we have some different options on what we want for our chart. So I can kind of go through and see what it is that I would like. Maybe a histograph. Or a pie chart. And I can select one. Now, with this chart, I can actually enlarge it and make it a little bit larger for us. There we go. But you'll notice whenever you select on your chart, you will get this Chart Design tab. This is where you can make changes and adjustments to your chart. So on the right hand or on the left hand side, sorry, you can add or remove chart elements. So if you want to add on a chart title or maybe remove it, you can. You can change the colors for the chart. We don't have that many to choose from, so don't get too excited. And then we can change the chart styles. Now, if you decide that you don't like the chart that you've chosen, you can change the chart type. And what I really like is it does give you a little preview of how that's going to look. So I can come up here to my bar chart or maybe my line chart and see how that looks. Hit OK. Maybe let's where's that? Let's go back to our chart design and see some different chart options that we got. Now, if you want to, you also can change the selected data. So I can change what we all have selected. But you can see it's really easy to see what all of the what the chart is, what it's kind of trying to tell us. I think I need to remove the element of the legend. Should make it a little bit easier. And I can even pull this out. And that's just from the Insert tab in the ribbon. So now that we know how to create our table, how to change it and make it look a little bit nicer, and how to add on a chart to kind of help give us a visual, let's look at some of the formulas that are going to be some of the most common ones for you to use. If we look at the next tab at the bottom, we have sum. This is going to be addition. I'm going to zoom in a little bit for us. So sum is going to be a great way to add together different numbers. You'll see here I have different locations in Ohio, and I want to add the information. If we click at the bottom of Akron, we can see up in our formula bar how we got that. We did the equals sum formula, and then within the parentheses, we actually just selected that column. We closed the parentheses and hit enter, and it added all those numbers together. Now, let's try that for our next location. We're going to select the cell where we want the answer to go, and then we're going to type in equals sum. It does not need to be in capitals. Excel's going to figure it out. So within the parentheses, we now need to put in the cell range. So we just need to select the cells. Close the parentheses. Hit enter. And there we go. Now, one thing that I love is that if, say, right here, we have a duplicate. Let's say, oh no, that was wrong. It's actually supposed to be, let's do, actually supposed to be that. It's automatically going to adjust for us. So we don't have to do the sum formula again. It's automatically going to change it. Let's do this one more time for Athens. We're going to select the cell where we want the answer to go, and we're going to type in equals sum, open parentheses. Now, if you are trying to add cell numbers together that are not right next to each other, you can simply select the cell and divide each of them up by placing a comma in between them. I can do that. So this is great if there's a number in a different column that you're trying to add together. So now you'll see sum, open parentheses, G2, comma, G4, comma, E4, comma, and C6, comma. So that's how you can add together different cells that are not immediately next to each other. If they are next to each other, you can just highlight the column or columns. You can also highlight multiple rows. Hit enter, and there we go. We have our answer. I am putting these into the Q&A just in case if you need them. Now let's move on to our next tab labeled average. So we know how to add numbers together, but what about average numbers? Here we have a table with the different dates, topics, and attendees. For this, I have 2 questions, and we have 2 different formulas we're going to try out based off of the question. If we look to the lower right of the table, you will see those 2 questions. The first one is what is our average number of attendees overall? For that, we're going to use the equals average formula. So we're going to select the cell where we want the answer to go. And we're going to type in equals average, open parentheses. And now we just need to select the cell range. So what are the numbers that we want Excel to find the average of? We just select the range, close the parentheses, and hit enter. And there, you'll see 26. So that's our overall average. But what if I want to know the average attendees who attended Teams 100? For that, we're going to have to use average if. because average if is going to look at the given criteria. So we're going to select the cell where we want the answer to go. Going to type in equals average if, open parentheses. And first we need to tell Excel what is the range where the criteria is going to be. So our criteria is going to be Teams 100 because we just want the average of those classes. So we need to select that cell range. So the criteria is going to be the topics column. We're going to select that. Put down a comma in our formula. And next we need to tell Excel, well, what is the criteria? So what is it? We could put down a number if we need to. For this, we need to put down the text. So we're going to keep it in quotations. Going to put in Teams space 100 because that's how it's spelled. Comma. And now we want to tell Excel where is it going to be looking to get the average from. So Excel already knows what the criteria is and where it's looking for the criteria. Now, based off of that, we need to know what is the cell range that's going to be looking for the average. That is going to be our attendees. Make sure to close the parentheses. And hit enter. And there you'll see that our average is 24. So it is slightly below our overall average of 26, but it's close. So that's how you can use average or average if you need to look for certain criteria to find the average of. The next formula or formulas that I'd like to show you is in the next tab labeled maximum and minimum, or max and min. So maximum and minimum are actually pretty simple formulas. Max will give you the highest number within a range, while min will give you the lowest number in a range. Here I have a table for us with just random amounts, and I want to know what was our highest sale and our lowest sale. For this, we're going to use max and minimum. We're going to select the cell where we want our answer to go. And then we're going to start. For the first question is, what is the highest sale for sales? We're going to use equals max for this. Open parentheses, and now we need to select the cell range. So for the cell range, you can select just a column, group of columns, or group of rows. Or for this instance, we're going to select the entire table. Because I want to know, out of all of these locations, out of all these weeks, who had the highest sale, or what was the highest sale? Make sure to close the parentheses and hit enter. And now we can see our highest amount. So we know our highest amount, but what about our lowest? What was our lowest sale? We're going to select the cell where the answer is going to go, and we're going to type in equals min, open parentheses. And once again, we're going to be selecting all of these cells, or the entire table for us. Close the parentheses, hit enter. And now we can see the huge gap between our lowest sale and our highest sale. Now, if something happens, and let's say there was an issue, and let's say this actually was put in there wrong, you'll see our highest sale was automatically updated to the new high sale based on all of the adjustments that I did. So they do automatically update if you make any changes. Now, the last tab that we have is labeled duplicates. So one thing that I want to show you is if you have duplicates in your table, you can actually have them removed. If you select anywhere within your table and you go up to the search bar, if you start typing in duplicates, you can get remove duplicates. It's going to ask you where are you wanting to remove the duplicates from. So you'll see I can choose one or both columns. Now you'll see my possible trainings. We do have a lot of duplicates, and that's just because maybe multiple customers want to learn about SharePoint. That's fine, but I do not want the duplicate trainings removed. I only want duplicate customers. Hit OK. And now you'll see it removed 7 duplicates. The duplicates in this case were empty cells, but it still went ahead and removed those for me. If instead you'd want Excel to, say, highlight any duplicate text, we could do that instead. So for that, maybe I want it to highlight any duplicate customers put in here. So I'm going to highlight my customer column, go back to the Home tab on our ribbon, and here in conditional formatting, I'm going to go down to new rules because I want to create a new rule for this column. When you select new rule, it's going to give you a list of rule types to choose from. The second from the bottom is format only unique or duplicate values, and that's what we want. You can see you can choose how you want it to format. We're going to keep it on duplicate. And now we get to choose how we want it to format. So maybe I want the cell to fill in with a red, maybe even, yeah, let's do red. And then I'll do font as, do white. Hit OK, see how that looks. And hit OK. So now if I add on a new customer, now if I do Kim, Kim's a new customer, so it's not being flagged as being a duplicate. But if I put in the name Tim, Tim is going to get flagged here because you'll see we already have Tim in our list. We don't need to add him in again. If I remove the duplicate, you'll see it's going to remove the highlighting on Tim's name. So those are 2 different ways how you can deal with duplicates within your list or table. Now, whenever you are ready to save and print your Excel workbook, make sure to go to the File, and you can click on Save or Save As if you want to save a duplicate. Once you have saved your file, go back to the File tab in the upper left-hand corner and go to Print. There we go. Just took it a minute. So when you go to print, it's going to just show you the current sheet that you are on, but you can always change it to maybe the entire workbook or only a print a selection that you have highlighted. I'm going to change it to just the entire workbook because I want to show you some things on it. Once you have chosen the sheets that you would like to print, the next option that I always skip down to is scaling. Because you can change the orientation, but really you want to change scaling first to see if you want to change the orientation. So you'll see here, you'll see how this looks. It's kind of cut off. So I want to go to scaling and say I want to fit this all on one sheet. I apologize. I don't know why it's freaking out about trying to find the printer. There we go. And that's what it looks like when I change it to fit everything on one sheet. From here, I can decide I can change the margins if I would like, or even how I'm going to be printing it. So if I want to print it on letter size 8.5 by 11, or maybe it's going to be legal size, I can go ahead and change that. And I can do this for each individual tab or sheet within my workbook. So I can go to the next one and make any and all adjustments that I need to. Whenever I'm done, I can just go ahead and print. Now that is everything that I have for getting started with Excel. I do want to go ahead and open up any Q&A or answer any questions that you all may have. As we wait for questions to come in, I do want to let you all know that my coworker Sway did post into the chat a link to a survey. The survey is completely optional, but it helps me on my end. It is just 3 questions long, asking how you enjoyed today's training, how you enjoyed the material, and how you enjoyed me as your trainer. If you thought Sway and I did a wonderful job, we would love to see 10 stars. But if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please let us know in the comment section of the survey. If you have no more questions, you are free to leave. Sway and I will stay on for a few more minutes. But I once again want to thank everyone for joining us. I hope you all had fun. I hope you learned something new. And I hope to see you all in future trainings. Thank you. All right, we're not seeing any more questions coming through. So I want to thank you all for joining us, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, everyone.